This is the auto team for Nightmare Queen. Honestly, after doing the run, I think for the Queen fight itself, it's actually not that bad, but I've always had issues with killing everything after the Queen. Not that it's hard, it just takes forever, especially that Masochist Elite with no strip, no unbuffable, no death break. Not fun at all. Also, it kind of requires regearing. Unless you want to keep your Tama on 200 FRES permanently, you do need to regear her and give her 200 FRES, which would lower your HP and potentially speed for expeditions. So it's kind of up to you whether or not you want to keep the 200 FRES on her or not. Then also, depending on your gear and units, it can be kind of RNG. Though I think after actually taking a look at this team, because I never really looked at it until now, the Byblis version's actually pretty consistent and pretty fast. So, like I mentioned, Byblis is a unit that exists, and her plus Roana with Tamarin are the units that allow this auto to exist in the first place. Let's start off with Byblis. Byblis, her S2, every time somebody gets counterattacked once per turn, she gets 20 CR, also decreases buffs by 2 turns, 80% chance of death break for 2 turns, and heals everybody. This is completely insane. We actually want the Queen to counter us so we can proc it and get death break in. But it will remove the buffs, so you won't get spam countered or anything, and also heal up all the damage you take. Very, very nice. For her stats, 105 effectiveness to debuff consistently. And speed, you want to be pretty fast. I'd say probably aim for 240. And then any extra stats into HP and defense. I'd also say, if you can, 100 FRES with immunity or immunity set are probably nice to have, because that would prevent you from getting death broken by the first set of eggs that hatch. And because there's a really, really low chance that if she gets death broken and then hard focus down due to bad targeting RNG, she can die sometimes. For artifact, don't use the ones that give her extra debuffs, like Gardening Shears or Song of Stars. Those make you hit 3 debuffs and get the boss kind of angry at you. It'll just use its S3. Instead, I'd say use artifacts that boost your ally stats, because Byblis doesn't really need much else. 20 FRES for Tama if you need it, especially if this lets you move Bastion off of Tama herself and give her Magaraha's Tomb. I'd recommend Bastion. There's the usual Warhorn, Water Shooter, or Midnight Bloom for the stat boosts. And then further down, there is also Renewed Will, some attack for your DPS, and also CR push 15% for all allies. It's pretty nice to have. Or Elegant Candle if you want even more death break consistency. So then, besides Byblis, let's take a look at Roana. Roana, the classic anti-counter unit. Bit of healing and CR push when somebody gets countered, which is just barely enough for us to ignore the counter, pretty much. You're going to want pretty much just some HP and defense, and maybe a bit of speed. Doesn't really matter, you can just use whatever you normally use on her. And then for artifact, I think Shamatra Staff is really nice. 20 FRES for Tama, and the increased healing lets you out-heal all of the counters that you take. If you find yourself not needing any of this, then you can give her Idol's Shear. The fight gets harder the longer it goes, and Idol's Shear helps you speed up the fight by a decent amount. So now let's take a look at the DPS slot. The DPS slot has a lot of units that work for it. I tried Afternoon Soak Flan, it worked okay. I know that in the past people used to use Ravi, though I haven't tried her myself. I'm pretty sure like any bruiser works fine. Some of the most common options you'll see is just any ML5 owns that are bruiser work fine, like LHC, ML Landy. I'm kind of curious if SSV works or not. Her S2 doesn't work in PvE, but ML Hwayoung works fine here, probably. ML Bologna is the one I'm going to be trying out with Byblis. And there's also AYufi, who I'm going to be trying out with Roana. And then, besides the DPS, we have the final slot, which is for supports. And actually, before that, I should look at Tamarin's stats. I forgot. So, Tamarin, her stats, 200 FRES is mandatory. And then you're going to want at least 220 speed. I'd say actually make her a bit faster if you can. And then the rest of the stats are going into HP and defense, with potentially some effectiveness. So, depending on if you're Byblis or Roana, I'd say Tamarin's stat priority changes. The effectiveness, or the effect resistance, and the speed stayed the same, 200, ideally 230, or faster. Now, if you're using Byblis, Byblis has the strip covered. it's every single turn she takes, strip, death break after getting countered. So I think you actually don't need any effectiveness on Tamarin, and I would drop all of it and put it into HP and defense instead, because Byblis's heal is conditional on her S2 actually proccing the extra attack, which she can't do while she is under Queen's Binding. So I would drop all of the effectiveness for HP and defense if you're using Byblis, because there is a chance that you die in the Queen's Binding phases, mainly the first one if you have really, really bad RNG and every single mob decides to hit Tamarin. On the other hand, if you're using Roana, you don't have the strip from Byblis S2, so Tamarin's S1 strip becomes pretty important, and I would actually definitely aim for the 105 effectiveness. The bulk is a little bit less important when using Roana, because Roana's S2 helps heal up some of the counter attacks during the Queen's Binding phases, though you're still going to want a decent amount. And then for Artifact, Magaraha's Tomb is going to be the best one, but if you're really desperate for effect resistance, then use Bastion of Hope. Gives you 55 effectiveness, or effect resistance at plus 30. So now, let's actually look at the support slot. Like I said with Tamarin, if you are using Byblis, the strip and death break is covered, and you're mainly looking for survival, in which case I think the best unit is kind of Crimson Armin, because Crimson Armin has her whole protection thing on her S2 that just reduces all damage received by 15%, and she can also hold Arius. So this is the Crimson Armin that I am using, I guess. I'll show it now. Protection set is also kind of nice, just to reduce the damage that Tamarin takes at the very start, which is kind of one of the roughest parts. But you can just use whatever you normally use on her, and it's fine. The more offensive version is LRK, just because he's taking so many hits, and also Queen AoEs a lot. So he's going to be spamming S3 pretty often, though he does lack a bit more protection compared to Crimson Armin. And on the other hand, if you're using, or I guess, okay, a more free-to-play version, or a more free-to-play Protection Knight is probably Byblis. Byblis has her, I think in her skill tree probably. Yeah, when attacked by a counter attack, decreases damage suffered by 30%. So she's kind of the free-to-play version. And she's got a little bit of strip. This is the spell. She's got a strip on her S1. It might be in her skill tree somewhere. Here we go, 60% chance to dispel one buff from the target. This doesn't matter. It's actually good that it's only 1 instead of 2, because you want to proc Byblis S2. So she's kind of the free-to-play option. On the other hand, if you are using Roana over Byblis, you're going to want to prioritize strip much more heavily than protection, I would say, because Roana S2 is honestly enough protection as is. So instead, I would say that the unit you want to use is probably Arowell. Arowell has 2 debuff strip on her S1, or technically it's 1 strip twice, but it's 2 debuffs, or 2 buffs that can be stripped with her S1, and her S3 is a full strip. She also offers a little bit of protection with Escort, but really the Escort kind of gets spam stripped. She does cycle pretty well though, due to the CR push she gets from her S2 passive. For her artifact, I gave her Steadfast Gatekeeper, because I was kind of worried about her getting blown up, but the Escort gets stripped enough that it doesn't really matter. I think Rise of Monarch or Adamant Shield is probably better. 105 effectiveness, because she gets debuffed often enough that you can't rely on the effectiveness buff. Then the rest of the stats, just HP and some speed. Besides ROL, I know that people used to use Solitaria. I think Solitaria probably over debuffs. You probably want her a lot faster than this, but I'm not too familiar with this unit, just know that people used to use her. I think Tywin's actually really good for this, funnily enough, if I can find him here somewhere. Tywin. Tywin, the annoying thing is you kind of need to, I took him from the fully deck selector, which is why I have him maxed, but without Molas it's 50% chance, but he does have an E that makes him dispel 2 buffs when using his S1. And also you can Death Break on S3, which is kind of nice. But yeah, I'll be using ROL for the Roana version. So let's take a look at the 2 teams. First up is Byblis which I'll be using this team, Tamarin, Byblis, LCB, and Armin. And then there is the other team that I will be using, which is Roana. I'll be using Abyssal AYufi as well. And then ROL. So if you want to see the Roana version of this team, you should jump ahead to after the Byblis run. And I just realized I forgot to show LCB Stats. So let's get everybody back into their normal spots, and then we can take a look at LCB Stats. Who was the last one? Armin. LCB, whatever you use on her normally is fine. Destruction Pen. And then if you are willing to re-gear her, you can give her Our Beautiful Seasons or Midnight Pizza Delivery. Not that one. Or Special Strawberry Cake. Wrong food. One of these two is nice, the anniversary ones. And then if you don't have these, then you can just give her any standard damage boosting artifact like Symbol of Unity or whatever. She clears fine even with just Sacred Scythe on her, so it doesn't really matter too much.
도망쳐도 소용없어. 이 황혼에 출근은 없으니까. 통하지 않아요. 가을 낙엽이 되어 큰 날이야. 발밑을 조심하렴. 강난 겉털일 뿐입니다. 반짝이네. 시켜낼 거야. 어서와. 언제나 봄인 매우 허원해. 여기에요. 맡겨줘. 샷! 당신의 수는 모두 읽었어. 좀 바쁘네. 할게요. 내가 경고했는데. 이것만요. 잔디좀 통하지 않아요. 강남 겉털일 뿐입니다. 새 노래를 들어주세요. 신사숙녀 여러분. 여기에요. 어쩔 수 없죠. 당신의 수는 모두 읽었어. 도망쳐도 소용없어. 이 황혼에 출근은 없으니까. 잔디좀 통하지 않아요. 일패 도치. 진흙 속에 처박아 들이자. 가난하지만. 당신의 수는 모두 읽었어. 반짝이네. 자, 강남 겉털일 뿐입니다. 하는 기분이지? 장기는 통하지 않아요. 발목을 조심하렴. 당신의 수는 모두 읽었어. 네가 오는 순간을 기다렸어. 강랑 겉털일 뿐이야. 저리 가세요. 관리해줘. 물론이지. 제 노래를 들어주세요. 심사숙녀 여러분. 무로, 무시, 무로. 상대할 가치가 없군요. 장기는 통하지 않아요.
And now the Abyssal Euphine stats, because I also forgot those. This is just my usual really badly built Abyssal Euphine with Elbrus. Elbrus helps a lot with ending the fight faster, especially when using Roana, because she'll just, the units, or the queen and the ads take so many turns, she has to proc Elbrus a lot. She also pretty much maintains full fighting spirit, so she gets the cleanse debuffs pretty easily. And even without Death Break, she has enough damage to punch through the queen. The kind of funny thing is the queen reduces defense as it uses S3. So I'm pretty sure you start losing the doubling effect from trauma, but no big deal, you can still clear anyways.
이런 건 싫지. 여기야. 어디로 갈까? 나도 할 수 있어. 지키는 자의 힘. 무시한 대가입니다. 반짝이네. 어두운 건 싫어. 불을 보고 있을 수 없잖아. 성스러운 빛이 모두를 구원하길. 제가 도울게요. 부탁해요. 좋습니다. 보여줄까? 이런 건 싫지도. 제 노래를 들어주세요. 신사숙녀 여러분. 도의를 벗어난 자 합당한 심판을. 함께해요. 저도. 그래. 지금 기분이 어때? 반짝이네. 샷.
무시한 대가입니다.
나도 할 수 있어. 반짝이네. 어두운 건 싫어. 우리를 볼 수 없잖아.
자비로운 레코스시여, 우리 굽어 살피소서.
저리 가세요. 이런 건 싫지. 보여줄까? 나도 할 수 있어. 새 노래를 들어주세요. 신사숙녀 여러분, 함께해요. 어디로 갈까? 이런 건 싫지. 참. 나도 할 수 있어.
맹세 무게 깨닫게 해드리죠.
보여줄까? 반짝이네. 몰라.
지금이에요.
할게요. 나도 할 수 있어. 하나, 둘, 셋. 누구부터 꺾어줄까? 저리 가세요.
먼저 갑니다.
새 노래를 들어주세요. 신사숙녀 여러분,
성스러운 빛이 모두를 구원하길. 지키는 자의 힘, 무시한 대가입니다.
이런 건 싫지. 여기에요. 내가 갈게. 나도 할 수 있어. 보여줄까? 반짝이네. 어두운 건 싫어. 우리를 볼 수 없잖아.
제가 도울게요.
저리 가세요.
That's it for the Queen Auto teams. Byblis is honestly just so good for this fight. She trivializes it so much that I didn't realize how fast the Byblis version of this auto would be, and C. Armin with her protection just makes Tamarin surviving that first Queen's Binding phase really consistent. And then the Roana version is definitely much longer, and it kind of limits your DPS options a bit more, but it's still kind of doable. If you're looking to just manual this though, you can check the AOL team that I have in the description. It's just pretty easy fight. The way I do it now is I kind of don't even kill the ads anymore. I just instantly blast queen and just kill her fast. But that's it for this one, and I'll see you guys next time.